Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, before I start, a big thank you to Professor Korolev and the organization committee to give me the chance to give you a quick update. At the same time, congratulations to this event. The Congress obviously is getting bigger and bigger. Well, my presentation is kind of having the title Endoscopy, Where to Go From Here. And I would like to just give you in the next 10 minutes a rough on the journey, rough idea where we believe from Olympus the journey will go, and maybe also give you some highlights on what we think is in the pipeline, which might be of big interest. So wherever we stand and wherever we are is that we have different directions where we can go. We can look at, do you want to see more? So the field of view. Do we use special light to have artificial images which enhance contrast? Do we look at more details? Do we go from a microscopic view more into the microscopic view? And does it help? Does it confuse? One area where we believe there's a big direction, as we look also in the car industry, where whenever you sit in your car, more and more systems supporting you, artificial intelligence will be an assistant for you in future in order to interpret what you see and what is there. Talking about control, what kind of different options do we have in order to change the maneuverability of the scope, to make it easier, less painful? How and where can robots assist? Then we are talking about safety, using CO2 during colonoscopy, which is obviously of great benefit. Where else can we reduce radiation exposure to the patient? So how can we change the way you perform endoscopy and the patient is benefiting from that? And obviously an ever-increasing area of concern is hygiene. How can we make the scopes in the design-wise cleanable, easy to clean, and how can we reduce the risk and mitigate the risk for any kind of contamination? So, looking at all different kind of features, I would like to go in two steps. One is a little review, what has happened in some of them, and then a little outlook on some of, or at least one of the areas where we believe the bright future is in front of us. If we look at light, for example, and obviously it has been proven that with narrowband imaging, NBI, since it started, at the beginning it was questionable whether these strange light images produced by special light can really help or not. But by now, since the introduction in the early 2000s, we have more than 1,200 peer-reviewed publications which prove that certain areas are going to help and where it is. And certainly some area will be continue to improve NBI in order to make it even more helpful. One aspect I would kind of highlight is that sometimes it's only one of the aspects of the different pathways to go, which is important, but the combination of both. For example, we have the combination of NBI and dual focus, where studies have proven that we have both. We have more targeted biopsy, and therefore we reduce the number of biopsies needed. At the same time, we have an increased adenoma detection rate, and yesterday during the program it was mentioned that there is obviously an area where more improvement can be of help. So this is an example where different kind of combination of features were helpful, and it was published in GATT. Then obviously there will be an area where we go from pure passive scopes more into the active scope. Those scopes, and I showed you last year some images. I would just want to touch upon that there is this spiral endoscope which will change the paradigm shift. It will change the way endoscopies will be done. And what we see so far from the study which is ongoing, that it is helpful in terms of reaching the lesion and the area of interest in less time. At the same time, it is whenever you have a lesion detected and you want to treat it, you have to go for an intervention. The spiral itself is helping you to have very stable position, almost to the millimeter you can go back and forth in order to treat the lesion. So one of the areas where from last year to this year, the scope is approaching the market, we are preparing the market, but obviously it's also for the user a different approach because you have to keep the scope still, and the scope is basically doing the job. But then there is one area where I would like to give a little insight in the future and to show what the latest developments show and what the evolution in certain areas could turn into a revolution. And this is a combination out of seeing more and getting the assistance of artificial intelligence. And this is a scope, an endoscopy, which is almost comparable like an army Swiss knife for the pocket, where you have different kinds of modalities in one scope. And compared to the scopes in earlier days where you had then either a fairly big one or you had a scope plus an extra probe, this is a scope where we have the possibility, the technical possibility to go into the microscopic view and even the cytoscopic view. But at the same time, it's a standard routine scope which is combining three things. The normal observation, it is having a zoom function. At the same time, it's then going one step further, where we are getting in contact with the mucosa, and where we then and looking at the cytoscopy. It's a scope which is currently under development, and instead of just looking some pictures, I think an animation might be helpful to understand the principle. So this is just a conventional scope. Then you have the lever. You look, and then you are in this magnifying observation mode. If you then, and there you have to keep distance. If you then get in contact with the mucosa, you really push the scope towards the mucosa, you can push further, and then you would see a cytoscopy view. You really look at the different kinds. And this view is possible. You can have it with or with NBI, without NBI, with NBI. So in fact, you don't need even to stain. You can use the NBI function. Just a little glimpse on the functionality, which is basically, if you have the endoscopy, and then you just stain the mucosa, you will have the nuclei being stained, and then actually this light will come out of the scope, being scattered, coming back into the objective lens. This just maybe also is easier with an animation. And this is just in one scope. So it's no need for changing the scopes, and especially as you are then having the chance to be in contact with the mucosa, you have less this probability that the image gets blurred or unsharp. So this is now one part where the scope is there, and where we can more details make it possible. And yesterday, Professor Rösch was mentioning that this is the direction, but at the same time it's a challenge, because like on a soccer pitch, if you look on the green and you want to find the yellow straw, one of the areas, it's quite time-consuming if you look with a zoom scope. And there we think that artificial intelligence, so the computer in the background as your assistant, will help you. He will be the one permanently checking behind you and assisting, telling you this could be different areas. And there is now a group in Japan working on, and this was at the UG Week, the last UG Week last year, in the opening session even mentioned. There is no publication out there where there was a combination out of the scope plus a dedicated software to it, which when you look at, and the software is permanently analyzing the pit pattern, looking at the images and giving you a certain, at least indication what the system believes at a certain probability is looking like. And the outcome of the study was interesting because looking at the system, the probability and the accuracy of predicting what you see and what is there was almost 90%. And this is compared to looking at non-specialists, higher and significantly higher than non-specialists, and is comparable to the performance of specialists when experts whenever they look at the lesions. Now, theoretical approach, how does it look like? I can show you some pictures. So far we have a database, and it's again collected in Japan. We have a database where we feed the system with different kind of images. and we roughly have more than 30,000 pictures now, which are in the system, and the system is learning, which each and every examination is learning in addition. And you see here the column, you see the lesion, the mucosa. At the same time, you see then the indication where the software is telling you, look, this is what I have detected, and this is the probability of whatever kind of pattern I've recognized, and out of the 30,000 plus pictures I know, this is what I would indicate what you see here. And then you basically, as an examiner, you can have a different look, and either then you can go for target biopsies, or you can go for any other direction and measure. So this is where we think that a system in the background permanently telling you what's going on is supporting, and this was obviously just a little highlight in terms of what the future will bring. It is something which is currently ongoing in Japan, but we're quite confident that first the scope, and then maybe also later, slightly, the software will be available in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you much for your attention. I can tell you that we are committed to support you as much as we can. There's room, and there's more and more room for cooperation, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harald. Your presentation, this is